Well, I have had quite a weekend. As you may be aware, last weekend was the 200th anniversary of the dawn of the railway age. Or at least we're calling it that. There are lots of other dates you could call the 200th anniversary, but the weekend marked 2 centuries since the opening of the Stockton and Darlington Railway, the first public railway to use steam locomotives. And I was also there. Despite some joker leaving a car on a level crossing near Doncaster, which delayed all trains up the East Coast Main Line, I did manage to make it to Shildon on time. I was particularly anxious to see this because it was the test steaming of the replica of Locomotion, the engine that hauled that train on the opening day of the Stockton and Darlington Railway. Appropriately enough, the test steaming of Locomotion was being held at Locomotion, the National Railway Museum's outpost. And even better, I got to ride in Locomotion's passenger carriage, Experiment. This was both amazing and unexpected. I have a lot to say about Locomotion, but I will be doing so in a more in-depth, dedicated video. So I'll save my fanboy glee for that. At the other end of history, I was offered a tour of the Revolution Very Light Rail Train, or I guess it's more like a rail car. While railway history is my favourite subject round here, I am very interested in new ideas for the future of railways. Let me be clear, I am openly and unashamedly a pro-rail propagandist, so this was all terribly exciting. I would like to do a full video on this, but long story short, it's a very lightweight, battery-powered unit, using their own version of fast-charging technology that they hope can be used to provide economical and environmentally friendly transport. Their aim, particularly in the UK, is to use vehicles like this to reopen closed branch lines. I am very much looking forward to seeing what happens with this, thanks to Dan from Revolution for the tour. He has his own channel called Steam on the Road that I suggest you check out. Also from the future, this Class 93 built by Stadler. I really like the look of these. This is a tri-mode locomotive. It can be powered from overhead wires, a diesel engine, or its batteries. It's designed to haul heavy trains at high speed, including goods trains. Finally, here is the I-Wagon. I don't have much to say about it because, frankly, I don't understand half the things it's supposed to be able to do. Long story short, it's fitted with a whole lot of sensors that enable the wagon's condition to be monitored in real time, meaning that any potential problems with the wagon can be dealt with before they become actual problems. I couldn't stop by the museum without getting a few shots of the North Eastern Railway 901 class that they've recently finished cosmetically restoring. These were built to haul passenger trains on the East Coast Main Line between York and Edinburgh. This one was built in 1875 and was withdrawn in 1925. It's been displayed at the 50th anniversary of the Stockton and Darlington, the 100th and the 150th, so it's good to see it here once again. Friday was Locomotion's big debut, and this really did feel quite special. There were lots of other YouTubers here. We spent much of the day trying not to get in each other's shots, and no doubt they've got videos of their own, either already out or on the way. The day began at Locomotion in Shildon, and I actually managed to get there obscenely early, so I spent some time poking around the historic buildings of Shildon. Another dedicated video? Maybe. The briefing took place in the museum, which meant that I got to see the real Locomotion as well as the replica. Then we took our place near the coal drops. These were used to fuel locomotives back in the steam era, and as Mr. Eden Green astutely observed, they make a nice backdrop. I was next to the brass band, and is it really a historic railway event if you don't have a brass band? Slightly before its due time, Locomotion set off to the museum itself, carrying the Duke of Edinburgh, Tim Dunn, and various other dignitaries. I can't imagine Experiment holds up very well next to the average royal train, but it's the novelty of the thing, innit? This short journey was an approximation of the original locomotive's original journey. The track is in a different place and it doesn't go as far, but you know, it's been 200 years. Then, after some more speeches, Locomotion headed out onto the main line. The first time this replica has carried passengers on the main line in its 50-year lifespan. And this was my call to leap into a taxi and race the train to Hopetown at North Road in Darlington. Locomotion pulled in at the A1 Steam Locomotive Trust, which is also at Darlington. Once it was parked up, I took the opportunity to look at some of the magnificent locomotives currently on display. Some of these will be familiar to regular viewers of this channel. Sir Nigel Gresley here has guest-starred in several videos. Heck, I could soon have enough footage for a No, stop planning future videos and concentrate on this one. Here is Tornado, the A1 steam locomotive after which the A1 Steam Locomotive Trust is named. And contrary to what I said last time it appeared, it was designed by Arthur Peppercorn, not Edward Thompson. This kind of thing is why I never refer to myself as an expert. Magnificent though these engines are, the ones I was particularly interested in were more workaday, like these two North Eastern Railway goods engines. This is a J27. Just about every major railway company had at least one kind of 060 goods engine. Just a really basic, powerful, versatile locomotive that could go anywhere. But for a bit more oomph, you want something like this Q6, which is an 080. That's a wheel arrangement with a lot of grunt, a heavy engine with all the weight on its driving wheels. The North Eastern Railway made its fortune in mineral traffic, and that meant they needed punchy engines like this to haul the long coal trains. At the other end of the scale is this Great Eastern engine, a Y4 or coffee pot. It's a shunter designed for shuffling rolling stock around for the bigger engines. This one was actually preserved at North Woolwich Station for a while. Despite the fact that I talk about the Great Eastern Railway all the time, this is the first time I've managed to get footage of a working Great Eastern locomotive. That is not an interesting fact, but it is a fact. The North Eastern Locomotive Preservation Group and the Darlington Railway Preservation Group are also based here, and between them they have a truly astonishing collection of locomotives on site. This engine under restoration is JOEM, a North Eastern Railway J72. J72s were another basic engine, built in their hundreds by the North Eastern Railway, the London and North Eastern Railway, and British Railways. They were in production for an impressive 53 years. An engine under construction here is the Prince of Wales, which provided an opportunity to see the Duke of Edinburgh discussing the Prince of Wales. The tabloids would have a field day. Saturday was the big day. The 27th of September. The actual 200th anniversary of the actual opening of the actual Stockton and Darlington Railway. We were privileged to see locomotion being prepared and heard some more about the hard work that goes into operating an engine like this, and the amount of planning and prep that this journey took. Overnight, 3 more locomotives had arrived. One was this Wemyss Private Railway austerity tank. Until literally that day, I thought Wemyss was pronounced Wemyss. Austerity tanks were these rather rugged 6-wheeled tank engines built for the War Department during the Second World War, as the name implies. They were built in their thousands and exported to Europe and Africa. After the war, manufacture continued because they were excellent industrial locomotives. Some were working as late as the 1980s. This isn't the only one on site. The North Eastern Locomotive Preservation Group has this one under restoration. And there were 2 Class 56s. These were heavy freight diesels introduced in 1976, which means that they overlap with the last of the austerity tanks in service, and are only slightly newer than the replica of locomotion, which was built for the 1975 celebrations. These too have had a long life, with some of them still in service. They're another link in a great chain of freight trains that goes all the way back to locomotion. But soon it was time for the main event. Images of the Stockton and Darlington Railway often feature locomotion crossing Skerne Bridge. Well, Darlington looks very different, but Skerne Bridge is still there, looking much as it did in 1825, still carrying trains every day. What better way to celebrate 200 years of the railway than to once again send locomotion over Skerne Bridge? This was what it had all led up to. 5 years of research, planning and construction, the creation of an entire train of rolling stock, the hard work and goodwill of countless people, many of whom were volunteers. Everyone from historians and engineers down to the workforce on the ground helping on the day. And here we were, thousands of people gathered to celebrate the bicentenary of a day that changed the world. The clanging of the bell and a plume of white smoke heralded the arrival of the star of the show. Even though I'd seen locomotion so often in the previous few days that I felt that I could construct my own replica from memory, seeing it cross the bridge was something special. Of course, this was far from the end of the celebrations. So it was that I found myself heading over to Darlington Station at an ungodly hour for an event held by LNER. Locomotion was to steam into the main line station, a station that hadn't even been built when the original locomotive was retired from the Stockton and Darlington Railway. It was a grand event, featuring speeches, poetry and music, only let down by the fact that locomotion arrived late. There were delays on the main line, which meant that the overhead power lines hadn't been switched off, which meant that locomotion couldn't proceed until they were. This in turn might not have been a problem but for the fact that the entertainment was timed to end exactly as locomotion steamed in. Still, locomotion eventually arrived, and there was much rejoicing. For me, this was the final part of SNDR 200. I won't lie, I had a sense of melancholy as I made my way out of the station and headed home. The celebrations continued at Stockton the next day, but alas, I was not to be there. I was heading north to a railway that had been going for a century when the Stockton and Darlington opened, but that's another story. And so ended my adventure on the Stockton and Darlington Railway. This was an exciting series of events, and I was honoured to be invited. I met several wonderful people for the first time and was reunited with many others. But what put an even bigger smile on my face was seeing so many people there, from hardcore rail enthusiasts to young kids seeing their first steam train, from the other side of the world and from just down the road. If this is how excited people get about the history of railways, things are looking pretty bright for the future of railways. Well, I do hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please do leave a like and consider subscribing for more. I would like as ever to thank my donors on Ko-fi, on Patreon, and here on YouTube for your generous support. You are the bell to my locomotive. I would also like to thank all the people and organisations who made this weekend happen. I'd like to personally thank Steve Davies, Dan Scobie, Flint Culture, and the Kestrel Hotel in Harrogate for their assistance in getting this video made. This will be far from my last video arising from this long weekend, so keep an eye on this channel for more. And all that remains is for me to say that I hope to see you all again very soon. Cheerio.
big, wasn't it?